let's do some revision of the clauses of the ethics, right? You have the first schedule and the second schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, right? Under the first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act, we have the part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And under the second schedule, we have the part 1, part 2, and the part 3, right? We have the part 1 first schedule, which is professional misconduct for CA in practice, right? Part 2 first schedule, which is professional misconduct for CA in service. Part 3 first schedule, which is professional misconduct generally. And part 4 first schedule, which is the other misconduct generally. Right, then second schedule, part 1, professional misconduct CA in practice. Part 2, second schedule, professional misconduct generally. And part 3, second schedule is the other misconduct generally. Right, so when the question comes on the part 1 of the first schedule, how do we start our answer? As per clause dash, whichever is the 1 to 12 clause of the part 1 of the first schedule of part 1 of first schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, a chartered accountant in practice is deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he, and then 111, right, allows any person to practice in his name. He says, oh yeah, everybody practice in my name, unless such person is also a CA in practice and is in partnership or employed by him, right? So each clause of ethics, you have to identify what is the misconduct, what are the exceptions, okay? Right, then after that we have the 211. What is 211? Pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow directly or indirectly any share, commission or brokerage in the fees or profits of his professional business to any person other than ICAI member, partner, retired partner, legal representative of deceased partner, member of any other professional bodies or the specified qualified persons, right? So not to share, otherwise guilty of professional misconduct under 211. 311, not to accept, right? So guilty of professional misconduct if he accepts or agrees to accept any part of the profits of professional work from any person other than, right, ICAI member, member of any other professional bodies or the specified qualified persons, right? Then 411, enters into partnership in or outside India with any person other than, again, ICAI member, member of any other professional bodies, the specified qualified persons or the institutions whose membership has been recognized by the central government or the council, okay? Right, then after that 511, what is 511? Secures, right, either through the services of a person who is not his partner or who is not his employee, or through means which are not open to a CA, any professional business, right? So applying 1 kg Amul butter, he's trying to get the professional business, it says ouch, guilty of professional misconduct under 511. And then the most, what you say, heroic, the most dynamic clause of our ethics, that is the 611. What does it say? Solicits client or professional work directly or indirectly by CAPIB, and a circular, advertisement, personal communication, interview, or by any other means, provided that nothing contained herein shall be construed as preventing or prohibiting a member from applying, requesting, inviting, securing professional work from another CA in practice, or responding to tenders or inquiries issued by various users of professional services from time to time and getting the professional work as a consequence. Right, so that is 611. Then 711. What is that? Advertises as professional attainments or services, or uses designation or expression other than that of CA on a professional document such as letter, head, sign, board, visiting card, unless it be a degree of university established by law in India, recognized by central government, title indicating membership of ICAI, or an institution whose membership has been recognized by the central government or the council. And provided that a member in practice may advertise through a write-up subject to the guidelines issued by the council. Right, then 811. Right, accepts appointment as an auditor previously held by another chartered accountant without first communicating with him in writing. Right, then 911, accepts appointment as an auditor of a company without first ascertaining whether the requirements of Section 139 and Section 140 of the Companies Act 2013 in respect of such appointment have been duly complied with. Right, then 10.11, charges or offers to charge, accepts or offers to accept in respect of his professional employment any fees which are based on percentage of profit or which are contingent upon the results of his finding or of such employment, except as permitted under the regulations under the Act. Right, so what is permitted under the regulations under the Act? Receiver, liquidator, auditor of a cooperative society, valuer for direct taxes and duties, certain management consultancy services, certain fundraising services, debt recovery services, cost optimization service, and any other service or audit, in which they have mentioned two: acting as an insolvency professional and NA to NA, non-assurance services to the non-audit client. Okay, right, then 11.11, right, engages in any other business or occupation other than the profession of chartered accountancy unless permitted by the council so to engage, provided that nothing contained herein shall disentitle a CA from being a director other than managing whole-time director unless he or his partners are interested in such a company as an auditor. Right, then after that 12.11 allows any person not being a member or being a member but not being his partner to sign on his behalf or on behalf of his firm any balance sheet, profit and loss, or the report or the financial statements. Right, and then what did we say? Routine documents, that task of signing can be delegated. Right, that is part 1 of the first schedule. Then part 2 of the first schedule, not to share, not to accept CA in service. Right, then part 3 first schedule, not being a fellow, acts as a fellow member of the institute. Then ply, does not supply the information called for or does not comply with the requirements asked for by ICAI or the council or the committees or the quality review board, appellate authority, board of discipline, disciplinary committee, then the director discipline. Right, so ICAI and or its functionaries. Yes, you don't give the information to the ICAI. And 331 gives false information under clause 6 and 7 of the part 1 of the first schedule. Right, then part 4 first schedule, it is other misconduct generally, is held guilty by any civil or criminal court which for an offence which is punishable with imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months. Right, so imprisonment up to 6 months. And then 241. What does that say? In the opinion of the council, brings the disrepute to the profession or to the institute as a result of his action, whether or not related to his professional work. Right, so what does it say? A CA is expected to maintain the highest standards of integrity even in his personal affairs, and any deviation from these standards even in his non-professional work would expose him to the disciplinary action. Right, so CA is not replying to the letter of public authority. CA is using the services of article for other than professional practice. CA is retaining the books of account of the client and not returning them without a reasonable cause. Then income tax assessment records were found in the almirah of the home of the CA. CA is adopting coercive methods on the bank for obtaining a loan. It says out. Then a guilty of other misconduct under 241. Okay, right, so that's our first schedule. Then we come to the second schedule, part 1, which is professional misconduct for CA in practice. What is 112 over there? Right, discloses information acquired in the course of his professional engagement to any person other than the client. Right, so engaging him unless required by any law for the time being enforced or unless you've taken the prior consent of the client. Right, that is confidentiality. Okay, then 212. What is that? Certifies or submits in his name or in the name of his firm any report on examination of financial statements unless the examination of the financial statements and the related records has been done by his partner, his employee, or another CA in practice. Right, so if you certify without examining the records, then 212. Right, then 312. if he permits his name to be used in connection with estimate of earning contingent upon future transaction in a manner which may lead to the belief that he vouches for the accuracy of the forecast, out. Guilty of professional misconduct under 312. Right, 412 expresses his opinion on the financial statements of any business or enterprise where he, his partner, his firm, or his relative, AS 18, has the substantial interest. However, information system work related to the employer would be allowed. Right, then 512 fails to disclose a material fact known to him, which is not disclosed in the financial statements, but disclosure of which is necessary in the financial statements where he is concerned with such financial statements in a professional capacity. Right, then 612 fails to report a material misstatement known to him to appear in the financial statements where he is concerned with such financial statements in a professional capacity. Then 712, what is 712? Does not exercise at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? So does not exercise the due diligence or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. 812 fails to obtain a sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion, or its exceptions are sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. 912 fails to invite attention to any material departure from the generally accepted audit procedures applicable to these circumstances. And 1012 fails to keep monies belonging to his client other than fees or remuneration in a separate banking account, or to use such monies for the purposes intended by the client within a reasonable time. Right, so that is 10.1.2, and that is the part 1 of the second schedule. Then part 2, second schedule, what is it? Professional misconduct generally. And what is the 122 over there? Contravenes. Right, any of the provisions of this act or the regulations made there under, or the guidelines issued by the council. Right, then guilty of professional misconduct under 122. Okay, CA has accepted 65 tax audits, out. And under 122, right? CA is not maintaining proper books of account. Again, cash book ledger not being maintained, 122. Right? So any of the provisions, regulations, guidelines of ICAI not followed, it comes under 122. Right? Then 222, breach of confidentiality for CA in service. And being an employee of any company, firm, or person, discloses information about his employer unless required by law or taken the prior consent. Okay, right? Then 322, in any information, form, return, or statement which is to be submitted to institute or its functionaries, provides any particulars knowing them to be false. Right? So false particulars to the ICAI. And 422, defalcates, embezzles the money received in the professional capacity. Right? And then part 3, second schedule, just one clause over there, imprisonment for more than 6 months, guilty of the other misconduct. Right? Guilty of the other misconduct, right? Okay, right, generally applicable to all CAs, right? So that's a quick revision of our 34 clauses of the ethics. And apart from that, you need to remember section 224, and members are deemed to be in practice when they provide the other services. Right, so what do we say? As per section 224, a member of the institute, whether individually or in partnership with other CAs in practice, or members of such other profession as may be prescribed, he, in consideration of remuneration received or to be received, right, will be deemed to be in practice if he renders the other services. And then we say the other services will include the management consultancy other services. Management consultancy and other services includes that entire list. Like, personnel recruitment, selection, acting as advisor consultant to issue. But what is not allowed? Acting advisor consultant allowed, AC allowed, but pub not allowed. What is the pub? The portfolio management, the underwriting, and the broking. Broking, underwriting, and portfolio management services not allowed. Right? So that is section 224 is other services, then also you are deemed to be in practice. And then we study section 27, which is regarding the maintenance of the branch offices, which says that each office of a CA should be under a separate charge of a member of the institute. However, no separate charge is required. One for the chartered accountants who are practicing in the hilly areas, right? They can have a temporary office in the plain areas not exceeding 3 months in a year, right? And second one, it says a second office for all CAs, right? It need not be under a separate charge if it is located in the same city, or it is located in the same accommodation or premises, or if it is located within 50 kilometers from the municipal limits of the city in which the first office is located. Right, so we've just tried to do a revision of the important provision of the ethics over here. Kindly see the different varieties of questions, and also, what content you need to write in your answer. Right, so ethics, how do you write down the answer? You write down the clause, then you write down the justification. Okay, why institute has said that this is not allowed, why I can't advertise, why I need to take NOC, why I can't charge fees on percentage contingent basis, right? So the purpose of the clause, or something that the council or some high court decision regarding that clause. Then you come to in the given case, right? So whatever is given in your question, and then you give the conclusion that therefore CA is guilty of professional misconduct, or you say he is not guilty of professional misconduct, or you say that there is no violation, right, of any of the provisions of the Chartered Accountants Act and the regulations there too. Right, so I hope that you find this particular revision of ethics beneficial, and you can also circulate it to your other friends, right, who are preparing for the CA final, and they find that, oh my God, audit is like, the, I don't know whether to call it the hero or the villain of the group one, but yeah, there are some own, inherent risks which are there in the subject of audit being a theory subject, right? So it would be great if you could, pass on these videos to more and more of your friends, right, your peers over there, right, so that they can also do a quick revision of the ethics. Okay, and wishing you all the very best.